Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Yamuna Tira Vanasari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Rajaganarandana Yashodanandana Rajaganarandana Yamuna Tira Vanasari Yamuna Tira Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Radha, Madhava, Radha, Madhava, Radhe, Radha, Madhava, Jaya Radha, Madhava, Radha, Madhava, Radhe, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Gaur Daim Shupad Paramahamsa Pri Vrajgachaja Stotra Satta Sri Simad His Divine Grace Thirabhai Charanaravind Bhakti Vedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Skandiviti Founder Sarya Divine Grace Sri Prabhupada Ki Namasarya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Harinam Sankirtan Ki Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Thai Gaur Primanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all glories to Sri Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Taksurunmiritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavam Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Paritana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakhanvitam Syam Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prishabhanu Suti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya
Narayanam Namaskritya
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Naram Chaiva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswati Vyasam
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Tato Jayamudiraye.
Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is a very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayana Rishi, the Supremost Human Being, unto Mother Saraswati, the Goddess of Learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayesa Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya
Bhagavati Tamasloke
Bhagavati Uttamaśloke
Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki.
Bhaktir Bhavati Nashiki.
By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama
Idam Bhagavatam Nama
Puranam Brahmasamitam
Puranam Brahma Samhitam
Uttama Shloka Charitam
Uttama Shloka Charitam
Chakara Bhagavan Rishi
Sakara Bhagavan Rishi
Nishreyasaya Lokasya
Nishreyasaya Lokasya
Dhanyam Swasya Namaha.
Dhanyam Swasayanam Maha.
This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Grantaraj, the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya
Sri Krishna Chaitanya
Prabhu Nityananda
Prabhu Nityananda
Sri Advaita Gadadhara
Sri Advaita Gadadhara
Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Hare Rama Hare Rama
Rama Rama Hare Hare
Rama Rama Hare Hare.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Surabhyaya Namaha
Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
Om Surabhyaya Namaha
Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
Om Surabhyaya Namaha
Om Surabhyaya Namaha.
Mukam karoti vasalam pangom langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. We are continuing from the 11th canto, chapter 17, entitled A Description of the Varnashrama System. Today we are reading 45 to 49, possibly 50. So text 45. Sarvaha
Sarvaha
Samudhared
Samudhare
Raja
Raja
Piteva
Deva
Vyasanat
Yasanat
Prajaha
Prajaha
Atmanam
Atmana
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 Dhiro
Dhiyo
Yatha
Yata
Gaja
Gaja
Patir
Pati
Gajan
Gaja
Sarva Samudharid Raja
Sarva Samudhare Raja
Piteva Vyasanat Praja
Piteva Visanat Praja
Atmanam Atmana Dhiro
Atmana Dhiro
Atmanam Atmana Dhiro
Atmana Atmana Dhiro
Yatha Gaja Patir Gajan
Yatha Gajapati Gaja
Sarva Samudharit Raja
Sarva Samudhare Raja
Piteva Vyasanat Prajaha
Piteva Visanat Praja
Atmanam Atmana Dhiro
Atmana Atmana Dhiro
Yatha Gajapatir Gajan
Yatha Gajapati Gaja
Sarva Samudharit Raja
Sarva Samudhare Raja
Piteva Vyasanat Praja
Piteva Visanat Praja
Atmanam Atmana Dhiro
Atmana Atmana Dhiro
Yatha Gajapatir Gajan
Yatha Gajapati Gaja
Sarva Samudharet Raja
Sarva Samudharit Raja
Piteva Vyashanat Praja
Piteva Vyasanat Praja
Atmanam Atmana Dhiro
Atmanam Atmana Dhiro
Yatha Gajapatir Gajan
Yatha Gajapatir Gajan
Sarva Samudhare Raja
Sarva Samudharit Raja
Piteva Vyasanat Praja
Piteva Vyasanat Praja
Atmanam Atmana Dhiro
Atmanam Atmana Dhiro
Yatha Gajapatir Gajan
Yatha Gajapatir Gajan Sarva
Sarva
all Samudharit
Samudhare
must uplift
must uplift
Raja
Raja
the king
King
Pita
Pita
a father
Father
Eva
Eva
like
like
Vyasanat
Vyasana
from difficulties
from difficulty
Praja
Praja
the citizens
the citizens
Atmanam
Atmana
himself
himself
Atmana
Atmana
by himself
by himself
Dhiraha
Dhiraha
fearless
fearless
Yatha
Yatha
just as
just as
Gajapati
Gajapati
a bull elephant
a bull elephant
Gajan
Gajan
the other elephants.
the other elephants
Translation and purport by the followers of Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Just as the chief bull elephant protects all other elephants in his herd and defends himself as well, similarly, a fearless king, just like a father, must save all the citizens from difficulty and also protect himself. Kindly repeat after me. Just as the chief bull elephants protects all other elephants
Protects all other elephants
in his herd,
in his herd
and defends himself as well.
and defends himself as well.
Similarly,
Similarly,
a fearless king,
a fearless king,
just like a father,
just like a father,
must save all the citizens
must save all the citizens
from difficulty
from difficulty
and also protect himself.
and also protect himself.
Purport. Lord Krishna, having concluded his discussion of Brahminical duties, and now describes the character and activities of a king, protecting all of the citizens from difficulty is an essential duty for the king. So in the last few days, we have been reading about qualities and duties and responsibilities of brahmanas, and how brahmanas are most important. They're considered the essential to give guidance in society. Without brahmanas, so many things cannot happen properly. Practically nothing can happen properly because the brahmanas are the teachers, as we have read, for all of the varnas. So after speaking about the brahmanas, naturally the second most important leader in society, these are like natural leaders. We say natural leaders, but they still need to receive a proper training, which is, as we have read also, traditionally it is being done in Gurukula. So the next important personality or leader in society are the Kshatriyas. And what are the three main activities of Kshatriyas? Beginning with the first, which is being mentioned here actually. Palana. Palana means to protect, protection. One devotee some few years back was had come up with the word PAW, P-A-W, P for protection, A for administration, and W for welfare. Those are actually the three main areas for Kshatriyas. And protection means many things, actually. Protection means physical protection, protection of citizens, and in the Vedic culture, citizens are not only those who are walking with two legs. Citizens is praja. Praja in Sanskrit means, what is the actual meaning? Probably many meanings. One who is born, one who becomes therefore dependent in a particular community or nation. So Prajap, we hear in the Bhagavatam, Prajapati. Prajapati in the beginning, like Daksha, and so many such personalities, we have Prajapatis. From them, they were ordered actually by Lord Brahma to increase the progeny population. So protection of all citizens. That's why Prabhupada mentions how the modern understanding of so-called protection is very faulty, because it is protecting, even that is not happening properly, supposed to protect the citizens, but actually animals are also in the Vedic culture considered as citizens. Trees are citizens in a broader sense. They are all living entities who are born in a particular place, country or nation. They are meant to be protected by the king. King also protects, of course, especially the Brahmanas, gives special attention, protection to the Brahmanas. And also a king protects dharma. Yeah, because a king has been educated in the importance of dharma. He's been educated and trained actually to represent dharma. To the king. King is similar to Brahmana, also worshipped as a direct representative of the Lord. So protection is the foremost duty and responsibility of kings, and the other, of course, is administration. And when we speak of administration, we speak of organization. Organization means the ideal organization for providing to the citizens is actually Varnashrama organization or Varnashrama system. So protection, administration, and then welfare, providing in times of crisis. So this point is being made here. And also, this is Lord Krishna speaking, giving the example here of whether it's a herd of elephants or a herd of cows and bulls. There's or horses also. There's always one chief. It's because we're not doing things naturally by allowing bulls to be together, or by so there's a natural selection that takes place as to who is meant to be the natural leader. So here the example is given of elephant protects other elephants in a herd, and also naturally defends himself. So in a similar way, a fearless king, like a father, must save all the citizens from difficulty and also protect himself. In other places, Prabhupada explains how what's the sign of good leadership in a society? People are happy. People are not complaining.
No bickering.
Just like it mentions how during the reign of Lord Ramachandra, everyone was very satisfied because the king, Lord Ramachandra, and there are other examples also, are doing their duties, are protecting and providing, etc., like that, for both the material and spiritual necessities. So this point is being made here. And we continue. Text 46 speaks about Raja also. Evam vidho nara patir
Evam vido narapate
vimane naraka varsasa
vimane narkavatsasa
vidhu yeha shubham kritsnam
vidhuya shubham krishnam
indrena saha modate.
Indrena sahamodate.
The translation without purport here. An earthly king who protects himself and all citizens by removing all sins from the kingdom will certainly enjoy with Lord Indra in airplanes as brilliant as the sun. Of course, we're not quite interested in doing that, but yeah. It mentions actually how fortunate are those villages. The village is considered most fortunate when there are no sinful activities being committed. When there are no sinful activities being committed means that the basic pillars of dharma, the principles of dharma, namely satyam, daya, tapa, socham, they are practiced, and therefore, naturally, there is this harmony in society. So text 47. Siddhan vipro vanig vritya
Siddhanta vipro vani vitta.
panyayad eva padam tarat
Panyareva padam tare.
kad gena vipada kamto
Khadgena vapada kranto.
kad gena vapada kramto
Khadgena vapada kranto.
nasva vritya katanchana.
Nashva pritya kathanchana.
Translation and short purport. If a Brahmana cannot support himself through his regular duties and is thus suffering, he may adopt the occupation of a merchant and overcome his destitute condition by buying and selling material things. If he continues to suffer extreme poverty even as a merchant, then he may adopt the occupation of a kshatriya, taking a sword in hand. But he cannot in any circumstances become like a dog, accepting an ordinary master. Purport. Swavritya, or a dog's profession, refers to the Shudras who cannot live without accepting a master. A destitute Brahmana who is suffering intolerably may become a merchant and then a Kshatriya, but may never take the position of a Shudra by working in a company or accepting a master. Although Kshatriya is ordinarily considered more elevated than a Vaishya, the Lord here recommends that distressed Brahmanas first accept the Vaishya occupation since it is not violent. Interesting subject matter, especially in our context of devotees, because very often devotees, especially when we start discussing on topics related to Varnasrama, question comes up, am I, as an individual who have been initiated as a Brahmana, doing the right thing, engaged in the proper activity? So, of course, we know that the situation in which we're living in the world today is not, it is very unusual, very irregular, even considered a crisis kind of situation, where the normal, regular, expected activities or responsibilities of individuals is extremely difficult to take up. So in this verse, of course, in the two previous verses, it was speaking about kings, and here it mentions how a Brahmana who is unable to survive can take up the occupation first of a Vaishya, and then if somehow it's not possible taking up that activity, can also take up activity of Kshatriya. In modern day society, we don't have too much examples of that. It's very, actually, in modern day society, even amongst our own devotees, it's difficult for someone to be purely taking up the activities of a brahmana. Why is that? We have the perfect philosophy. Why is it difficult for people who have natural inclination, who have possibly been trained as a brahmana, why is it difficult for them to take up, as it is described, let's say in the Shastra, the duties and responsibility of a brahmana? One reason is that most of our own devotees have not been properly trained to actually support a brahmana, isn't it? Brahmanas by nature are meant to be supported by the general society. Of course, at the same time, real brahmana will accept any whatever Krishna arranges. If of course, in one sense, we could say there's a limit in that. We'll read text number 9. It also doesn't have any purport. So text 4:9, yeah. Shudra vritim bhajet vaishya.
Shudra vidim bhajet vaishya.
Shudra karu kata kriyam.
Shudra kata kriyam.
Krishran mukto nagarhena. Vritim lipseta karmana. Translation. A Vaishya or mercantile man who cannot maintain himself may adopt the occupation of a Shudra. Okay. But not a Brahmana and not a Kshatriya. And a Shudra who cannot find a master can engage in simple activities like making baskets and mats of straw. However, all members of society who have adopted inferior occupations in emergency situation must give up those substitute occupations when the difficulties have passed. So these are exceptions that are being mentioned here, which should only be taken up in times of difficulties, and when such difficulties are no longer present, one should return to one's prescribed occupation or prescribed duty. So like this, we very similar to what we have read in the instructions given by Narada Muni in the 7th canto of the Bhagavatam. There is a system and there are prescribed duties and responsibilities. And of course, it is not so easy for us to understand, because that whole culture practically has been changed or practically destroyed, and more people are not even physically living in villages where Vaishya activities and the majority of the population are meant to be actually living. So it means that actually it's only when we can begin to apply or reintroduce this more natural, this is an important point actually, when we can begin to reintroduce this natural way of living, then many of the things that we're reading in the Shastra will take on a different meaning, or we will more easily be able to understand. Otherwise, a lot of it is very theoretical. Just like nowadays, all over the world, such misunderstandings are there in terms of the role and responsibility of men and women in society. We have created an artificial way of living, especially in the modern cities, and it's like practically everyone has access to taking up, practically speaking, any kind of occupation. But that system is not a natural system, and therefore the taking up of different occupations are also not natural. So the point being that if we live more close to nature, if we live as it is prescribed or recommended, more natural lifestyle, where very clearly defined features, such as living locally, not having to travel for earning one's livelihood, which is, again, the prescribed activity for the majority of householders. That was, even today, in a place like India, that is still there, although diminishing, reducing practically every day. But if we look at 50 years ago, and Prabhupada, of course, he would also mention during his time, he would go back also and mention how 50 years before people lived much more in line with what is being described in the Bhagavatam. In other words, the majority of people in India, I guess if we go back 50 years, 100 years ago, what was the percentage of people living in the villages compared to today? What is the official percentage? I think it has gone below 70%. 100 years ago, population in villages was more like 85% of the population. And it, over the last so many years, it has decreased and continues to decrease. There are, actually this is being done intentionally also, which is not in keeping with the guidelines that are actually given in Shastra, which is also not in keeping with how people should be earning their livelihood, etc. And which is, when we begin to analyze it, a cause of so many irregularities and whatnot.
It is 64%. 64%.
6-4, huh?
Yeah.
6-4, yeah. Just, it was only maybe 4 years back that for the 4 or 5 years, not more than that, that for the first time in history, the first time in the known history of India, the population in the villages became below 70%. So now it's 64. And the prediction is there that not only for India, but globally within a few years, I think maybe they make all these predictions, that within a relatively short time, the global situation will be that 50% of the population in the world will be in the cities. And that will, if that trend continues, that means that more and more people, just like if you were to quickly find out what is the percentage of the population in the US living in the cities, well, it's something like 95, 96% of the population are in the towns and cities, which means, naturally, that you have less than 5% of the population.
82%.
Huh?
82%.
82. I thought it was much higher than that. 82%. That's a recent estimation.
2021 census,
2021 census. Okay, interesting. I thought it was more. According to 2021 census, yeah, 82% of the population are, I mean, in the cities. That means that what? 18%. India has 64% of the population living in the villages, and in America is 18% are living outside the cities. And that's also decreasing. So that means, basically, the more we are not following what is the recommended way of living, then the more we introduce all kinds of unnatural ways or unnatural systems, which create all kinds of irregularities, isn't it? In how we live, how we work, how we eat, what we eat, what clothes we wear, and practically everything connected with our lifestyle. It'd be interesting to find out which country has the lowest percentage. I'm sure they have this. which country in the world has the highest percentage of population living in the cities, and vice versa?
Maybe China.
Which country? China still has a lot of people.
Lot of people.
Huh?
Lot of
Yeah,
people
lot
in
of people in China.
rural places.
Well, one would have to find out. But definitely that is, since the last, they've been having what they call summit meetings, right? All the nations in the world coming together, and every so many years, and going back, let's say, 20, 30 years, and they have been what we call projecting, trying to understand how it will be or how it should be, how it should be. And that's very dangerous actually, because when you have people who are not having proper knowledge of society, of what is it, the very purpose of life, then they make all these major decisions that are affecting the whole world actually. So yeah.
Actually, these things will pick up Middle East countries because they're Middle Eastern countries because they're 100% urban. They have no place to cultivate.
Yeah, well, that traditionally has been, Middle East, Gulf countries. They were mostly nomads, right? Traveling from one place to another. It's like a big shift over the. And so you have like these big cities like Dubai and others, where Okay, we can close for now. Jai Grantaraj from Bhagavatam ki Jai.